Welcome to City of Hope. It's wonderful to see all of you today. What? Cut. Welcome to Hope Lutheran Church. I used to work at City of Hope. This is another special day when we're doing what are called alternative services. And it's an experiment, but I think so far it's going really well. And we need your cooperation and your input into this as we discuss a very important topic in our society. I want to welcome all the folks online too. And if you have comments or want to offer up prayers, please put that in the comments section, and we will get to that later. And let's take a moment to welcome those of us, all of the people around you, with a sign of peace. It's good to see you all. Let's have our opening prayer. God of truth and compassion, open our hearts to receive the wisdom spoken among us today. Give us courage to listen deeply, even when the words challenge us or call us to change. May your Spirit guide our hearing, that we may become faithful neighbors in love and justice. Amen. So now I want to introduce our speaker, who is no stranger to our church. Sister Margret has been coming here for many years. She's the spiritual advisor at Covenant House, and she's been bringing young people. I think Covenant House was started when a man who, as I recall, he was like a big Southerner, and he had a big personality, and he would come here and talk, and we had a connection with Covenant House, and ever since then it has a special place in our hearts. And so she's going to talk about the topic of homelessness, and this is something that I know for myself. It's just crushing to see these people and how they're living, and to wish you could do something about it. And sometimes I give them money and people get mad at me about that. They say, well, that doesn't help them. How can it not help them? But we all worry about this, but we don't know what to do. Sister Margret, thank you so much for coming. And she's going to give us the gospel reading as well.
Thank you, Steve. First of all, I want to say thank you all for having me here today, and to Pastor Steve for inviting me and to speak to you. And you've always been my home church after my Catholic church. This is where I feel most at home, so thank you so much. And we'll start by, I'll read the reading for today is from Deuteronomy 15. If there is anyone among you in need, a member of community, in any of your towns within the land that the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward your needy neighbor. You should rather open your hand, willingly lending enough to meet the need wherever it may be. Here ends the reading. When I read the reading, I was touched by the mention of giving to the poor, and it connected me to my religious community. I belong to a community called the Religious Sisters of Charity. I'll bore you with a bit of the details, but it connects to where I am today. We were founded in 1815 in Ireland, and the person who founded us was she was a Scottish Presbyterian. She converted to becoming Catholic when she was 18 years of age. And she was moved by the plight of the poor way back in 1815. That's when cholera was rampant in Ireland and people were dying destitute on the streets. Because she was from the Protestant family, she was from the more wealthier community, and her father was a doctor, and she would have seen her father go to the poor at night time and give them medicine and try and help them in their destitute. She wanted to do more, and one day after she was converted to becoming Catholic, she heard the story of Dives and Lazarus in church. That's the story of the rich man eating lavishly, and Lazarus, the poor man, was eating the crumbs that fell from his table. And that moved her to start a community of sisters. She was very courageous. She didn't have anything. All she had was her trust in, as she said, divine providence, that God would see her through. And so she started this. She started with 5 people. And because cholera was rampant, as the community grew, some of the sisters also got cholera and died. So it was particularly hard for her. So from that small beginning, we have grown throughout the world. So that was in 1815, and it's amazing. There are times when I walk the streets and I think, what has changed? Very little nowadays. It's the same almost. When I was discerning what I would do, because I too was moved by the plight of people who were poor, when I was growing up, I wanted to see what I could do. And after a process of discernment, there weren't as many lay organizations that we have nowadays where people can volunteer for a couple of years. That really wasn't available in the 1980s, at least in Ireland. I wasn't really aware. But I came across the Religious Sisters of Charity, and what stood out for me was religious sisters take vows, poverty, chastity, and obedience, but the Religious Sisters of Charity take a 4th vow to serve the poor. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. This might be what I'm looking for. So after communications, I decided to join. One of the things that really inspired me was growing up in the 70s and 80s in Ireland, they called it the Troubles was going on, where there was a lot of unrest in the north of Ireland. It seemed like the Catholics and the Protestants. And I was always curious about what they called political prisoners, and what people, there was hunger strikers, and it was really a very difficult time. I grew up in a Catholic family in a farm, so we were surrounded by people from all religions. It never was a question of, but in the more urban settings, it became, it was an issue. Mary Aikenhead, when she started the congregation, one of the first works she did was to accompany people who were being hanged in prison. At that time, people were being hanged in Ireland, and there was women being hanged in Mountjoy jail in Dublin, and the governor sent a message for somebody to come and to keep them calm for the night. And so she and another sister went, and from then on, we've always worked in prisons. So because I had an interest in working in prisons and working with people who were incarcerated, when I came here to California in 1986, and I worked for a short while in juvenile hall. So it was an amazing experience for me. After that, I went back to Ireland and England, and I worked in some prisons there. I worked on the streets. I worked in mental health facilities, and then I came back in 1989. 1998. I came back to California, and then again I worked in juvenile hall in Downey, and I worked with families of juveniles, because it's not just the person, it's the wider family that were affected by the person. And I followed up with lifers, young people who got life at that stage and were sent to state prison. So I would do these long trips at the weekend, and I noticed that people would leave juvenile hall on their 18th birthday. Some of them were housed in juvenile hall because it was a matter of they didn't really commit a crime, but it's not like they might have just a few months until they turn 18, so they would just be housed in the juvenile hall, and on their 18th birthday they were let free, and they were supposed to fend for themselves. So a lot of them were calling back to our office, and they were looking for places to stay, and that's where I got to know of Covenant House. So I would connect them with Covenant House and worked with the staff that were there at the time. So then after a while, there was a vacancy. There was a sister who had been working in Covenant House and she was leaving, and they told me there was a vacancy. So I started working there, and that was in 2001. I've been there just over 25 years now at Covenant House. And lots of things about Covenant House has changed in over 25 years. You know, we've had multiple CEOs. There's a new person starting next week, new CEO starting. So with each administration, you know, it brings change. You know, technology has changed. Different systems have changed with us. But the one thing that hasn't changed are the youth coming through our doors every day. And it makes me sad to see that instead of us not needing places, we're needing more places than ever to house youth. When I started at Covenant House, the program was for 18 to 21 years of age, but now we house youth from 18 to 25 years of age. Before Covenant House is part of Covenant House International, our headquarters are in New York. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Covenant Houses in other states and different places. In 1985, Covenant House started in Hollywood, where we are now. Before we started a shelter, they were in an office on Sunset, and they gave people vouchers for a motel at nighttime. And they did a survey on the needs of the homeless population in Los Angeles. And what struck them was the 18 to 21 years of age. And one of the main reasons, which is probably the same today, is people leaving foster care on their 18th birthday. And many youth leave foster care when they're 18. Now, there are more services available now for them moving forward. 20 years ago, there wasn't. They were literally on the streets. And statistics tell us that within 24 to 48 hours, people can be trafficked when they're on the streets, especially youth from the foster care system. Traffickers know who they're looking for. They see that vulnerability and they approach them quickly, and many get trafficked. We still have many stories that we can share about people who come through our doors. Recently, there was a young man, it was a Monday morning early. He had come to the shelter the night before because he had nowhere to stay, and he just looked vulnerable to me. And when I chatted with him, without getting too much of his information, he told me he was just a few days homeless. He had obviously left home. In the past, you know, when people would show up and if there was a free bed available, people could be intaked, but that no longer happens because of funding, and we're under the county system. It's called the central entry system, so people have to go through a process to be entered into to get a shelter bed. So it means the county has control of the beds, and they know where there's a vacancy, either in Covenant House or here or there, so they will assign person to a bed. So because of that, he wasn't able to stay, but he needed to go to my friend's place to enroll in the central entry system. But what struck me was he was still carrying his blanket that he had from home, that he brought from home with him. And he just looked so young. He looked like 15, but he told me he had turned 18. And he looked so vulnerable. I tried to give him advice, as bit of advice as I could. And I told him, whatever he did, don't let anybody give his backpack to anybody, because that's where he had his documents. And for most people who become homeless, one of the things that happens to them is they lose all their papers, because they either put a bag somewhere and stolen, or ask somebody to take care of it, and that person moves on, and so they don't have ID, Social Security. So for a lot of people who come to us, getting their documentation is the first steps to finding some stability. And we have, so as that man left that morning, like, my heart broke for him, because I could see how vulnerable he was, and I know how bad the streets are. And I thought, I just pray that, like, God would just put people in his path that would just reach out to him and be kind to him, you know. He just didn't seem like he was ready for the streets, and whatever his circumstances were at home. I didn't go into that, but it was just really, really sad to see it, and it's just, we see it every day. People like that who are vulnerable, people who like are not familiar with the streets, who may come from other states. We have people from around the world in Covenant House. People come, they find us on the internet. They find us through like 211 when they call and they're homeless, and they find us through other people giving them advice. You know, try Covenant House, go to Hollywood and you'll find us. Covenant House we have like what they call wraparound services. Everybody that comes through our doors is linked with a case manager. So that's somebody who works with them closely on a one-on-one basis. They find out their needs, what we can offer, if we can't offer, what other places might be able to offer. You know, are they interested in going to school or working? And Covenant House, because of the funding that we're getting from, I'm not sure because it's not my department funding, but people can stay with us for 2 years. So they work like sort of on a 2-year plan, you know, to what can you do during this time. So Covenant House, we have like a medical clinic available. So there's like a medical doctor, nurses there Monday, Wednesday and Friday. There's a psychiatrist, and we have many therapists. We have master students who are doing their hours, and so that's available. If people are not able to like come in person and it's too difficult for them, they can accommodate them on Zooms, which is kind of helpful, you know, when people are, you know, everyone is dealing with a lot of trauma, you know, abandonment, abuse, neglect, the list goes on. It's never anything good. People who don't come to us because everything was good in their lives, sadly, it's the opposite. We also have a support, the support center, and there we have like education. We have 5 Keys Charter School. If any of you have ever heard of the 5 Keys Charter School, it's a system that was started in the jails in San Francisco maybe 20 years ago or so, and it was because of the number of people coming back to jail and to prison. And one of the main reasons was that they didn't have like a high school diploma. So 5 Keys Charter School started there in San Francisco, and now it's here in California, in Los Angeles. It's in many of the shelters around, where people can, and it's not like a regular school or a classroom. People are given packets. They come in, they're assessed on where they are, and then they're given packets to work on. If they need tutoring, the teacher there arranges a tutor. When they have done that, studied that packet and brought back their homework, then they move on to the next and the next. And it's great to see many of our youth and alumni and former youth get their high school diplomas, because it's a basic for anything nowadays. And we also can help them enroll in college and, you know, whatever, or enroll in the trade tech, or if they're interested in a trade, we also can accommodate that. So we have computers, we don't do any like job training on site, but we help people work on their resumes. We have staff who like specialize on that. We have a clothing closet there that has like more professional clothes for interviews and shoes and stuff like that. So we have a regular clothing closet in the shelter, but we have one for professionals in the support center. We also have an outreach van, and I think outreach started from the beginning, where staff go on the streets at nighttime from, like, not in the nighttime, early evening, probably from 5 p.m. onwards, and they go to parts of Los Angeles where young people hang out. And it's kind of interesting, because if you do any work with the homeless, you realize that the young people kind of hang out in different areas to the older people. So, you know, Santa Monica, Venice, you know, around Santa Monica Boulevard here and Hollywood Boulevard, many of the young people hang out there. So our outreach staff, sometimes they even cook food there and make, you know, lunches, hot food to take out, especially in the wintertime, to the people, you know, on the streets. We take like hygiene kits, blankets, whatever we have, we take it. Socks are really important, because, you know, if you're homeless and you haven't been able to change your socks for a week or so, you know, they stink, they get hard, people get fungus in their feet and stuff like that. So it's really challenging. So the outreach van is major, and the staff that go there like are absolutely wonderful. They know the streets very well and they know where to go. What else do we have? We have alumni services, and even though like people can be in our program for 2 years, sadly, after 2 years is when sometimes they need the most help, because for many of them, they don't have a family support. They don't have, a good network of friends or people that they can call on. So we have staff, and I do a lot of alumni support as well. Many of the women have children, babies and children, so we support them with diapers and, formula equipment, cribs, strollers, all that kind of thing. So we're constantly helping wherever we can. In the last few years, because of different funding that's become available, we have expanded our services. When you see Covenant House California, it includes our Covenant House shelter in Oakland. We have a shelter in Hayward. We're in San Jose, and we're in Anaheim now too. We have a place in Anaheim, so we have extended our services. We just opened a place on Hollywood Boulevard here. If any of you knew, it's close to Western Avenue. It was a Downtowner motel. And recently it was opened. I went to the opening, and the council person who spoke at the opening said that it was funded through Project Room Key. And I know that's something that Mayor Bass has talked about, Project Room Key, and I didn't even know how that, I think it's one of the taxes that we pay or something like that in California. And so that is one of, and they said it was, the Downtowner is one of 20 other motels that the city have assigned agencies to run, and which is wonderful. It is 25 beds, 25 studio apartments. There is a percentage of them for foster care youth, for youth coming directly out of foster care. There's an assigned case manager to work with them individually, because coming out of foster care is different from coming out of, say, home, or if you've been on the streets for a while. To give them that one-on-one individual attention that they need to help them. And interestingly, they said that because of Project Roomkey and the funding, that project is funded for up to 30 years now. So that's really good. We just, staff from the shelter, have moved up there. So it's just, I've just seen it go from the beginning stages of it being remodeled into the studios into now where youth are living. And so it's youth who are stable enough to live in an apartment. The youth in the shelter are maybe need more skills, and they're not able to kind of more be as independent as that. So it's a great addition. We also have 2 other programs like it, but they're for 25 and older. And it's long-term, low-income housing. And it's mainly for our alumni, because we discover that because of rents are so high in Los Angeles, it's impossible for any kind of a young person to be able to hold down a job and pay their rent. Even a room is $1,500, whereas before you could get it for a few $100s. So we found that more and more of our youth were becoming homeless because of the housing problem. I'm not sure where the funding for these 2 programs have come, but in the last 2 years, we have acquired 2 buildings. One was a motel on Pico. It's close to close to Arlington. I'm not sure what it was known before, but it is 20 studio apartments. And so there are requirements. People have to be working, and they have to save money, even though they can stay there long term. And there's different rules there, but it's their own studio. And for those who have moved in, they seem to be really happy and really loving it, the fact that they have their own 4 walls and they don't have to deal with anyone else if they don't want to, and they can afford it. So if they're doing a lot of our youth are only able for entry-level jobs, and they don't pay an awful lot, and security and things like that, which it can be challenging to and lots of time it's not full-time hours. So the rents are between $700 and $800, which is pretty affordable in today's climate. The other building is a building on, I'm not sure if it was foundations or not that funded these programs, but and we have one of our alumni youth who is the manager in each of these programs. So it's great to see people, be able to gain skills and responsibility and, do well for themselves. The second house that we have is on Crenshaw. It's a 2-story building. It's close to Wilshire Boulevard. And there again, we have like 24 apartments, studio apartments there. The idea of that building, that took us a long time before we opened it because of, it's in the historical part of Los Angeles, and there's a lot of restrictions and permitting and a lot of challenges. We had hoped, and our CEO at the time had hoped, that we could have a mother and baby unit there. But the licensing, we were never able to get the licensing. So we decided they would just go ahead and open it and house our youth alumni who were looking for housing at the time. So they're really going well, and it seems to be the beginning of this long-term affordable housing that Covenant House is kind of pioneering for their sites. So it's very exciting to see. One of the mission statement of Covenant House, it's respect, unconditional love, and relentless support. We never give up on people. I've been there for 25 years. I know people who have been in the shelter 25 years, and we still support as much as we can. We have had one particularly vulnerable youth I've known him for 25 years, who has a lot of learning disability and mental health issues, who has never been able to get any kind of long-term accommodation because of his legal status here. And a few years ago, he was taken in by the Department of Mental Health, because they have a street outreach and they're really good. And he was very addicted at this stage and really, really in a bad way. And they got conservatorship for him. And I was under the understanding that he was okay for now, because I visited him a few times in the hospital, and I thought conservatorship was for life, but apparently it has changed, and it's a 3-year cycle now. So recently, Terry was back on the street again, and I was like, Terry, you look so much better. What happened? He stays in our yard or close to our parking lot or somewhere because he feels safe, and all the staff know him, and we feed him. But this story was funny because on Thursday last week, he was laying on the sidewalk under a tree because it was very hot, and I was bringing him either cold water or a Coke or something like that, and I was saying, he told me, I'm going to go back, because every time I would say, Terry, would you not decide to go back, to the hospital where he was, because he was very well cared for there. He said, I told them, they came yesterday, and I told them that I'll go back, and they're going to pick me up. And I said, that's great. I said, Terry, tell me, why did you leave? And he said, I had no privacy. And I said, Terry, what privacy have you here? You're in the middle of the sidewalk under a tree in this Western and Fountain, what? And then he started to laugh, So it's just interesting, but we continuously support people, whatever their needs are, whatever we can, we try. Over the years, as you can imagine, I have had to bury many of our youth. You all knew Denise, who came here, and so sadly, when I go to Holy Cross, there's so many of people where we have graves of some of the youth. They're very good at Holy Cross Cemetery, that they give me a free grave for the youth when they pass away, and there's no family member to claim them. And it's really, that's the real sad part of it, that for those who don't make it. I know that you may have been aware that over the years, I used to go to Mexico, and we would take groups. When I started at Covenant House first, we would take youth from the shelter to Mexico to do a project, and we built houses, and it was great. But then, around the time of the recession in 2008, funding got cut. Immigration at the border became more challenging, so it was decided we would no longer be able to go there, even though to this day, I still support an orphanage in Tijuana. But so I was anxious to find a program or some project for our youth, because my job is spiritual ministry there, or kind of chaplain, and I like to engage youth. And I know coming to church can be good for some people, or it was while they wanted to come. But people kind of dropped off, and church wasn't everything. But I noticed that people like to do something, so I explore different habitat and different programs. But some of them are like, they want to know the names and all the backgrounds of people. I never know when I'm doing something who's going to show up that morning. So maybe about 8 years ago, I started myself going to Skid Row. And we call it our Matthew 25 project, which ties in with the reading for today, because Matthew 25 is where Jesus says, when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. So once a month, and it has grown over the years, I have a wonderful group of very dedicated volunteers who just show up on the Saturday morning. It's normally the last Saturday of the month, or close enough to around then. And we take youth and alumni, and people just bring supplies. Like, it started off with just a bottle of water and a sandwich and a pair of socks, but now people bring hygiene. They bring hoodies in the winter time, blankets, even blankets in the summer, because people need a shade in the summertime. So people think they don't want blankets in the summer, but yes, they do, because it keeps the sun from burning them on Skid Row. So that is really, it's a great project. It can be really sad as well, going to Skid Row, and there's one street there where the families are, so we always take bags for the kids, and it's just tragic to see it and see the squalor that people are forced to live in down there. And we always take food for the animals, for the cats and dogs that are there too. We always try and take kits for the animals. So that's kind of Covenant House. I'm sure you have questions. You can feel free to ask me any questions afterwards. But I want to say thank you all very, very much for all your support over the years. And particularly this year, you were very good to give me gift cards, because for the children at Christmas time, it's really, really good. So I really appreciate it. I didn't get a chance to even say thank you until now. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you all very, very much. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Holly. Why were they hanging women in Ireland?
That was the punishment at the time for anything, trivial things. People were that was how the people were punished. Thank God it's changed from that, no more.
Another question.
Actually, the prison
young man
system.
that came to you, why did he leave home at 18?
I didn't ask him. We don't ask questions unless people are forthgiving information.
You don't ask questions, why?
We don't ask questions. We don't ask intrusive questions like that, because normally people are very traumatized when they come to us from the streets or from home. They have come as a result of an event that happened, and for many, they don't want to share it. So we give them time and space until they're ready to share it. So we don't really bombard them with intrusive questions like saying, "Hi, how are you?" We're sensitive to their circumstances at the time.
One more question. Are you supplying people with birth control of some sort?
I'm not sure, because I don't work in the clinic there, and I really wouldn't know, but they have services at the clinic and they have services at the local hospitals. We normally get them connected with insurance. So, yeah.
Well, Sister, I really applaud what you do and Covenant House does. And like you're suggesting, they come to you, they've been damaged by life and by living on the streets. And how are you able to not just give them housing and education and high school and all that, but how can you touch their souls and their hearts and give them hope, you might say? You're the spiritual advisor.
For many of them, just by being there, and I'm amazed sometimes. I may not know who their names, but they know who I am, and they're very grateful that my presence, just by being there, I think means a lot. And even for alumni, they come back and like, "Wow, you're still here," and they reminisce about, and it's that connection that, and that's why am still there, because I feel like maybe I don't do much, but, I think it's important just for a presence and for somebody who's compassionate and caring and kind and not judging, and whatever your circumstances are, I'm not going to judge you.
I have a question. I know the Covenant House takes care of younger people, 18 to 25, is that what it is? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any resources that I can talk with you later for people that may be in their 30s?
That's a challenge. It's a challenge like what our advice would be, call 911 or 211, see if there's any shelter beds available. It's really challenging for people, unless they have like maybe mental health issues or drug addiction, and they may be able to get, housing through or support through some of those resources that are available.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Curious to know if there's an on-site chaplain or like a prayer room?
Yes, we have. Yes, I'm there.
Thank you.
Sister Margret, thank you so much.
welcome.
I was just wondering, as you were sharing some of these stories, how did you build the strength to have the tolerance to be kind and stay kind when you were in the presence of convicted criminals?
I always have at the back of my mind, I think, you were born a tiny baby into the world. What happened to you that made you into this person? Something happened, and it's probably beyond your control, for something, an outside influence of some sort or other that damaged you and that made you, whatever happened to you happen. And that's what I think of, and sometimes when I get to know people and I hear about, the family dramas and the family stuff, and I think like, oh, you can see exactly what damage was done and how damaged the person is. And lots of time it's a cry for help and nobody hearing that cry, and, it's just sad. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hi. I'm Judy. Anyway, I have one of the most inspirational stories from Sister Margret. Her and I are good friends for many years. She mentioned Denise, and she lived on Fountain. Is that one of the ones that the Covenant House moved her into? Yeah, and Ray Brewer owned that building. And she got under Section 8, right? She was very happy there. And the way I met her and Sister Margret is we went outside, the two of you went outside, and I was sitting in the dining room. Oh, I was sitting in the dining room. And she said, I've got to go. And, you said, well, she had cancer. Mm-hmm. She was given 3 months to live. And she was bald-headed. She came in with a scarf every day. She went back and got sick and then came back to listen to the sermon. She had 3 months to live, and we passed some information in I said, well, I've got another switch to this. She is going to the City of Hope, and she said, will it hurt? And I had to think. And I said, it may hurt, but they're going to cure you of cancer, because I'm the longest living patient there, and they did it to me. And I was a very serious case. You have to be there. So she got hope. And that's how her and I became good friends. The first thing, she'd come in and she kissed me up there. And then I kissed her and we hung out at the Grove. We just had a ball, and I miss her so much. She did live till 36 years old. She never got the cancer back because they cured it at the City of Hope. And I've seen too many cases, including myself. So I love Denise. You are her favorite, most popular person. Sister Margret, and she said I was second influential in her life. I said, that's an honor to be second. She loved you so much.
And it's tragic, you know, when somebody like her, you know, because you can't but build a relationship and a friendship with somebody, and when something happens like that, and you know, it was devastating. You know, she's actually buried like almost side by side another trans woman who died shortly afterwards. They're buried almost side by side, and when I go to the cemetery, I'm like, God, what happened? Two of you guys, you should be still here, you know, you had your long lives ahead of you, and, you know, it's not for me to question. We have to accept, you know, God's.
I was wondering, so the new place that is a hotel that's converted to and room key, are those studios, is one person lives in each one?
Yes.
It's better that way, less
Well,
company?
they're designed for that. They're small. They're like, they're very small. You know, they're small studios. So there is not, it would be crowded with a second person. And, you know, we're trying to help people be independent and hopefully be able to move into their own apartment at some stage in their lives. And, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Could
so
have one
much.
more thing there? Now's the time for our community prayers. Again, another thank you to Sister Margret for coming in and spending so much time with us. Everybody has an idea of what Covenant House does, but most of us don't know exactly what Covenant House does, and I think that this was eye-opening for some of us. Now's the time for our community prayers. We join together to pray for the church, the world, and all their needs. Holy God, give life and peace to your church and breathe into us your message of forgiveness, hope, and love. Renew creation, restore places harmed by disaster, and protect the beauty and the diversity of the earth. Guide the nations towards justice, free all who live in war and violence, and lead refugees and asylum seekers to safety. Lift the burdens of poverty, comfort those who weep, and heal all who are sick. Bless this assembly and deepen in us the wonder of your resurrection life. For what else do the people pray?
Well, I'd like to pray for Sister Margret and Covenant House and all the people they serve and all the homeless who aren't getting served, and hope that somehow our society and our nation and the world can open its hearts and have more kindness.
Continued prayers for Helena, Zed, and his family, Sister Margret and the Covenant House, Tommy, Will, Janet, Jackie and her family, and for all those who are suffering everywhere.
We pray to you, O God.
For those of you who know Jackie, she broke her ankle in 3 different places. She had surgery this past Friday, and she is healing. Her prayers are needed. Thank you.
We pray to you, O God.
We'd like to say a prayer of thanksgiving for the newly consecrated Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles, Bishop Antonio Gallardo. He just got recently, consecrated. He's now the new bishop for the Episcopal Diocese.
We pray to you, O God.
Your mercy is great. I'd like to ask for prayers for the Ross family. My friend's dad, Ashley, is continuing to beat the odds and yet have a lot of health concerns. So we're just praying for the whole family and holding them up.
We pray to you, O God. I'd like for us to continue praying for our friends, family, and loved ones in nursing facilities and in hospitals. I'd like for us to continue praying for Mrs. McKinney. I'd like for us to continue praying for Dr. Robert Davis and his sister Denise, friends of mine who have just a few days ago cremated their mom and are dealing with the final departure emotions that go with that. And I'd like for us to continue praying for my brothers as they travel their difficult journeys. We pray to you, O God. Please, God, receive these prayers through Jesus Christ, our strength and salvation. Amen. This next phase is for our offering. I'll grab the plate and pass that around.
And while the offering plate is going around, Zed is actually going to lead us in a song today.
I am going to do that. Again, Sister Margret, thank you so much. So Kate had asked me about singing a song today, and this topic is, it should be important to everybody here, and if it's not important to you, then I would invite you to ask yourself why it's not. But I think this is an important topic to all of us, and I'm blessed that Kate had asked me to sing something in this song. When I think about the people in Skid Row and the people on the street, this song was the first song that came to my mind. Also, this is karaoke. You guys can sing along. It's a beautiful song. Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things, above all wisdom and all the ways of man, you were here before the world began. Above all kingdoms, above all thrones, above all wonders the world has ever known, above all wealth and treasures of the earth, there's no way to measure what you're worth. Crucified and laid behind a stone, you lived to die, rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall and you thought of me above all. Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things,
above all wisdom and all the ways of man. You were here before the world began. Above all kingdoms and above all thrones, above all wonders the world has ever known, above all wealth and treasures of the earth, there's no way to measure what you're worth. Crucified, laid behind a stone, you'd live to die, rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall, and you thought of me above all. Come on, church. Crucified, laid behind a stone, you lived to die, you rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall, and he thought of you and all of us above all, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall and thought of me above all.
Thank you, Zed. Now's the time for announcements. Announcements can be, oh no, that's for that's for our milestones. Kate, you have announcements back there?
Yes, I'm gonna come up there.
Okay.
I don't know where the camera's pointing. Oh yeah, I guess I'll take those two. Okay, thanks. I'm so excited. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of clipboards. Two of them are our normal Sunday meal signups and communion bread signups. We are looking for someone for July 26th. The 2 weeks after that are covered, and then we're looking for people in August. So if you think you can help out, please sign up. We also are looking for people who can bring in communion bread, and we are starting to look at the end of August and September. So these are going to come around. I'll just put those there if you can pass them. Okay, and then the next one, in 2 weeks, we are going to have our service Sunday, and we are going to be making toiletry kits for Sister Margret and Covenant House to hand out to people who are coming in or to take down to Skid Row as they're doing that work. So I have an updated list. I went through the supplies that we still have. So these are updated numbers. Please take a look, see what you can bring in. Again, if you are unable to get to the store or don't think that you're able to get like a group of 25 of something, talk to me, let me know. I had a couple of people last round just make donations, and then I went shopping and filled the holes, and I'm more than happy to do that. So this is coming around. I'm also happy to share links on Amazon for where to get some of this stuff. Great. Yeah. And one of the things we are hoping to do is just sort of keep collecting items. So this list will help us make up to 50 kits for Sister Margret and Covenant House. If we do, great. If we don't, we have made something and helped them in some way. So please consider giving. If you are going to Costco and you're like, oh, look, bars of soap are on sale, but they aren't on the list, we'll still take them because we'll include them in the next batch. So I'm going to pass that around. Thank you.
Good morning. Today is not a fundraiser. It was a change of plan at the last moment, but we have a wonderful lunch prepared for you. And since we're running out of supplies in the kitchen, we're asking people if you take something to go, please give $2 and it will go towards funding the supplies of the kitchen. Thanks a lot.
Does anyone else have any announcements?
I have a card for Pastor Drew, and I'd appreciate it if everyone would sign it today. It'll be in the
Okay.
Okay, so as a reminder, next week is Pastor Drew's last Sunday with us. We are doing a potluck as a send-off party. So consider making your favorite dish. If you know something you've made in the past that he particularly liked, maybe you make that. But we're all pitching in to wish him well on his next endeavor and in the next adventures for him and his family. So please come, please celebrate the time that we had with him and send him off with a smile.
As a piggyback to that message, it's a Lutheran tradition, I'm going to say, that the pastor is separated from the members of his former flock for a period of 1 year. So if you would like to say anything to Pastor Drew, please feel free to reach out to him during this past week. And if he can, make it here next Sunday so that you can bid him a farewell and a pleasant journey in he and his family's future.
It's actually a question. I know there have been a couple of announcements regarding us beginning prayer partners again, and I hadn't seen anything, and I just wondered if that had begun yet. Not yet? Okay.
Yes, soon I'll try to get more people to sign up for prayer partners, but since so much is going on, we're kind of holding off a little bit.
Any more announcements? Gloria?
So I have the bins out in the bell tower for your pill bottles, light bulbs, and batteries, and mercury batteries, and any kind of batteries, and then the fluorescent light bulbs. It's illegal to put those in your trash because it's so bad for the environment. And then they're also useful to be used to make new ones. So you can put them there if you don't have a place, but there's a good news is if you go to the library, there's a new program that the libraries now collect batteries, but you can still bring them here because I'm still be doing it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Gloria. Now's the time, if that's done, if that's it for the announcements, for our milestones. Milestones can be any kind of events, big or small, happy or sad, and joyous, things that you might want to share with us, things that you might want to, you want for us to help you in your rejoicing for. Does anybody have any, Kate, do you have milestones?
I do have a milestone. I have a couple. The first is very exciting. I was hired in for a new TV show job. So I'm very excited. My husband and I are very excited about what this means for our credit card bills. But I will ask everyone to pray for me, because in addition to doing that full time, I'm still going to be producing a podcast and doing the work I do here. So I will just need a little extra love and support for a little while. The other milestone is that my kitten, who is less than a year old, in the last 2.5 months, has had 2 extreme surgeries for blockages because she eats things, and then 2 endoscopies because she continues to eat things. And the emergency room would like us to not bring her back there ever again, I think. So it's fun. Get pet insurance.
Milestone. Anybody else have any milestones? Jordan?
Thank you. So this week is the official 100th anniversary of the Los Angeles Central Library. It was actually opened on July 15th, 1926. But the big celebration that we had was yesterday at the library, which was really, really wonderful. If you are sad you missed out on it, it was very fun, but there are things going on through the rest of the year. What? The largest pop-up book, the Guinness World Record for world's largest pop-up book, was made at the library yesterday. The pop-up book is still there. You can still see it. But you just won't be able to have the big turn it moment that they did. So that and a bunch of other things were yesterday, which was awesome, but there are going to be still events throughout the rest of the year for the 100th anniversary, or if you just want to come take a tour, it's a great year to do it. All that being said, my actual milestone for yesterday was that I was working the booth with the other docents yesterday, and my friends who I didn't even know were coming happened to walk past, and then they came right at the end of my shift there, so we were able to just hang out for the rest of the day, walk around the library, get some lunch, and it was awesome because I had no idea they were even going to be there. So wonderful happenstance.
Tomorrow is my child's birthday, so happy birthday, Zedekiah.
Milestone.
Just to add to that a little bit, yep, exactly 28 years ago, this moment, we were on our way to the hospital, and won't forget that night, let me tell you.
Milestone.
And it's also Chris's birthday about now. He's turning 30, he said. So it's a Hope tradition that we really sing a happy birthday in a loud voice. Judy, you want to lead us in that?
Yes. Now this is what I'm talking about. No, Let's sing. It's my birthday. Judy. Sing.
All right now? Yeah. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear friend, you. Happy birthday to you.
Nice. That harmony. All right.
So on Thursday, Adrian and I celebrated 5 years together in partnership. And also this year marks 10 years of us knowing each other in our friendship. So it's 5 and 10.
Okay. Those are nice milestones. Yes, now we'll gather for the Lord's Prayer. And we've got a tune to accompany us.
Our Father hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And lead us not.
And lead us not
into
temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For the kingdom.
For the kingdom
And the power.
and the power
And the glory.
and the glory are yours, O Lord, forever and
Go in
Thank you all.
peace.
Thanks
Go
be
in
to-
peace. Notice God's word in the world.
Thanks be to God, and we will.